episode of Mic'd Up with Mello and Big Country, brought to you by Mid-America RV. Why work from home when your office could be in Yellowstone? 2021 will be the year to rediscover the outdoors. Mid-America RV is your gateway to adventure with their diverse selection of travel trailers, fifth wheels, teardrops, and toy haulers. They have the right size RV for any vehicle, all covered by their exclusive RV warranty forever. Game days, remote work getaways, and family vacations are all better in an RV from Mid-America RV. Experience travel like you never have before. Find out more at midamericarv.com. A great little Thursday show for you guys today, and a special Veterans Day. My dad served in the armed forces. This is a special day for me, so shout out to all those who have served, who are serving. Happy Veterans Day from us here at Mic'd Up to you. I hope you enjoy those free dinners today at, I know you can go to Buffalo Wild Wings. My dad, I'm taking him to dinner tonight. He chose Cracker Barrel. I think
not
that's
surprised by that.
one of those places he can get a free meal at. I'm sure he's going to have his served in Vietnam hat on. He is that one.
Yeah.
There's one player that I always think of on Veterans Day, and that is Ted Williams. And I know that a lot of people know who Ted Williams is. They celebrate his greatness, one of the greatest hitters to ever play in baseball. But specifically on this day, I always think about Ted Williams. I was at an elementary Veterans Day assembly, and they highlighted Ted Williams. One of the guest speakers did. And I always think about him still. This man gave up 3 years in his prime baseball career to go serve in World War II. And I can't believe that. I know they were even talking about it this morning on Dan Patrick. Can you imagine taking one of the greatest athletes that we have right now, plucking him out of his prime and having him go fight or serve our country? Ted Williams did it at age 24. He missed age 24, 25, and 26 seasons to go fight.
Came back and was still very good. And in
Won
his
the
first
MVP.
4 years, 20 to 23, 20, 21, 22, and 23, he had led the league in runs 3 times, home runs twice, and RBIs twice. And then goes and serves 3 years in the military, and it comes back and then just absolutely dominates again.
Yep. I mean, even in his last year, 1942, his last full season before he joined the Army, he won the Triple Crown.
Mm-hmm.
Led in batting average. His batting average was .356. And then he's like, I'm going to go fight for my country.
Comes back, 342, 343, 369. Insane.
Yeah, just a stupid career that he had. I can't imagine. Even I'm trying to think who our young stars are. Guys like Josh Allen in the NFL, Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
Who are under, that 25-year-old mark still, I think.
Yeah.
But for them to even go do it, or, some of these young, great hitters that we have in baseball, it would just be absolutely nuts. But that's just something that they did. So for me, Ted Williams, a guy that I always think about on this day.
I mean, he's one of those guys where you not necessarily forget his stats, but just forget how dominant he was.
He kind of gets lost in that era of guys like, Babe Ruth before him, Mickey Mantle after him. Mm-hmm. And he was, he did some great things for our country, and he was always kind of thought of as also a jerk. Mm-hmm. Not a pleasant guy to be around. He didn't really like the media, and maybe rubbed some people the wrong way. But I was still a great athlete, a great American.
Yep. That's a good way of saying it.
So I always think about Ted Williams on this day. But we also have a lot of football to get to, and some Heisman talk, some college football game picks today. But we also have the Ravens and Dolphins tonight. This week is flying by for me. I did not even know it was Thursday.
I woke up and was like, holy shit, yesterday was Wednesday.
It was all day.
Yeah.
24-hour
cycle.
Yeah, sitting here today on Thursday, we do have Ravens at Dolphins. I am not particularly excited about this game. The spread on it is 7.5 favoring the Ravens, and I get it. I've just been so disappointed in what the Dolphins have done this year. And I know I mention it every time I talk about the Dolphins. I was one of those guys who was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be great. They're going to get things turned around. They have their quarterback. They have all these draft picks. But I think, for me, looking back at it, it's just like the Cleveland Browns when they were bad. They had all those draft picks. Guess what? Doesn't matter if you miss on those draft picks.
Yeah,
And that's why teams like the Rams are still having success. It's like, we don't fuck those draft picks. We don't care.
We're not going to miss on those.
Yeah.
We're going to hit on players that already have success in this league, and we'll find a way to pay them. Again, we don't care. I mean, a recent example is the Raiders. Like the last 2 or 3 years, they've had multiple first-round draft picks. They've all panned out. Like, they've not panned out at all.
Right, yeah. I mean, even, their last two with Damon Arnett and Henry Ruggs, obviously for different reasons, but having to cut both of them already. It's ridiculous. And I've said this before, but I'll say it again. I know that, like, part of what I do in sports media is kind of like the draft type stuff. I am on the train. I don't know if I'm leading it or not, or if I'm right behind Les Snead with the Rams. Draft picks are one of the most overrated things in sports.
Boy, are they.
Especially first-round draft picks.
The more I've hung around you and Matt, it's like the more I've kind of realized that. It's like, why is there so much value in those? It's like, well, because if you hit, that's a franchise changer. Yeah, like.
If.
Go find a 6th, 7th rounder. I mean, they hit just, or third rounders hit just as much as first rounders do.
Right.
Which is just crazy.
Now, I do think that there's something to having like that first, couple picks, the first, the top 5 picks in the draft, where it is special. And you're like, if I'm going to give this up, I want a lot in return for it. And I get that. But man, how confident would you have to feel to like actually make that move, to trade up and get one of these guys? Like, even looking back to, me and you and Matt were talking this morning a little bit about old draft classes, to trade up for guys like Marcus Mariota, Jameis Winston, at the time, kind of felt like a no-brainer. Like, you go up and you get your quarterback. I don't know that I would say they were a bust, but they definitely didn't live up to the hype. I mean, they're on different teams now. Jameis on his 3rd team already. Marcus Mariota gets replaced by Ryan Tannehill in Tennessee.
Yeah, Jameis on the 2nd team, Bucks and Saints.
Oh, yeah. Saints last year. Yeah.
Mariota, though, is, right? Because who's he with now? Is he still with the Raiders? Okay.
Yeah. I was thinking Jameis was somewhere last year, but he was just a backup last year.
Yeah, he was nothing last year.
But same team. And so it is weird. And then, other guys that we talked about too, Carson Wentz, Jared Goff.
Yeah.
People had to trade up for them. And they gave up a lot to get up there and get them. And it didn't really work out. But on the same hand, the Browns were one of the teams that gave up those picks, or got those picks for a Carson Wentz. And it's like, all right, whatever.
And they've done okay with them.
Not back then.
No, yeah.
Like the Myles Garrett draft is when they started drafting well, I think. Because they got Myles Garrett, and then they got Baker Mayfield, Nick Chubb.
Ward.
I think Denzel Ward is still pretty good. Obviously, he had that pick 6 last week. I still like him. So
Yeah.
they've been doing a lot better.
It's just one of those things with like that entire secondary. It's like, I like the guys they have back there when they're playing, if they're healthy.
Yeah.
That's
But, I mean,
kind of
it's a
been the
lot
other
better.
thing.
I think with a lot of teams, you look at them, and if you look at a single team and you look at their draft, you're like, oh, my God, this sucks.
Yeah.
They missed here. But then you go look at every other draft, like excluding the Saints, who seem to draft well every year. Like the Saints and the Ravens draft well every year. Other than those two teams, I think you can look at just about every draft class and be like, oh, that sucks.
Yeah.
You missed here. That's
Well,
a bad
it's
pick.
crazy.
You wasted that one.
We did it on radio. We'd kind of find ourselves get down that rabbit hole often where we'd start going through old draft classes. Be like, man, I forgot this guy was taken here. These guys were in the same draft class. Or can you believe that they took this player and that player? And at the time, it's like you get super excited about it. You're like, this is a guy who could help change the franchise. This is what they've been missing. And then you get out there and it's like, this guy's not doing jack shit.
Yeah.
Like his best days were in college.
So I just went to Pro Football Reference, plugged in a year. And I think like 2018, it's been enough years now that we can look back on that and kind of decide who was good, who was not. Mm-hmm. Just look at the top 3 picks in that class. 2018 NFL Draft, Baker Mayfield went 1st overall, who I think he's been good, but he went 1st overall in a class where Lamar Jackson went 32nd overall. And they did. I don't count him as a bust or even like a disappointment. He's got the Browns playing well, so I get that one. The New York Giants took Saquon Barkley number 2 overall. At the time, I was cool with that. Mm-hmm. Taking Saquon, he's going to be good. Now I don't even think they should pay him. I don't think they should franchise tag him. I don't think they should extend him. I think they should let him walk.
Really?
Oh, 100%. I would not pay him.
Not even franchise tag
I
him,
wouldn't
just in
give
case
him
he gets healthy?
Nick Chubb money. No, I don't think he's a top 5 running back. I don't know if he's a top 10 running back. Best ability is availability, and
Yes,
Homie
sir.
does not have availability ever. So, like, maybe I would look at that franchise tag and see how much I have to pay a running back on the franchise tag, but he's probably not going to live up to that contract.
Let's dive into that comment right there where he's not even a top 10 running back. Are you saying just in terms of because he's not available and you can't rely on him?
Yeah.
Because people are going to look at that and be like, oh, dude, he's just
when
so
you look
talented.
at the traits,
Yeah,
sure, but
yeah.
who gives a shit about traits? If it's not on the field, you get a 0 for that. You know what my Madden rating is? 0, because I'm not on the field. So if Saquon is not on the field, your rating is a 0. Your 40 doesn't matter. You're not on the field. So got to be on the field to be good. And I like Saquon. I do. I really liked him at Penn State. I thought he was going to be a special player. I'll admit that I was wrong on that. I don't know if Giants fans are ready to admit that they should have, maybe drafted someone else. But, I mean, it was a miss. And they should have went after, probably one of these quarterbacks. I know a lot of Giants fans are still very excited about what Daniel Jones could be. We'll see. But I think you're looking at it again in this draft class. You had Josh Allen go number 7 overall. He might win the MVP this year. Lamar Jackson, 32nd overall. He already has an MVP under his belt. And then just keep going down the list.
Could you imagine Lamar Jackson in New York?
Oh, yeah, it'd be huge.
The dude has, I'm sure he's got a ton of money now. I mean, first-round draft pick and all that, but the media attention that he would have would be through the roof.
Yeah, probably so. I mean, this was a really good draft class, though. Even Quentin Nelson, let's just read down it. For those of you who maybe aren't following along on the line, number 1 overall pick, Baker Mayfield.
Yep.
That one's whatever. Well, I think that one actually probably needs a little more time. Saquon Barkley goes 2. I don't think he's lived up to anywhere near the hype. Sam Darnold is absolutely atrocious. Yeah, he sucks. I'm
Can't
ready
even
to say
complete
it.
a fracture.
And again, remember, this guy had Sam Darnold QB1 in that class.
What an idiot.
What? At least I didn't have Josh Rosen 1. A lot of people did. Denzel Ward goes 4. I'm okay with that. Maybe you would have rather had some of these other guys, but I'm good with that. I think he's still solid. Bradley Chubb and then Quentin Nelson. I think those two are both really good. Quentin Nelson runs into an injury this year, but I don't think Colts fans are like, oh my gosh, why did we draft him at 6?
Mm-hmm.
I think you're fine. But Josh Allen at 7 is a big one too, that I think a lot of people wish they would have drafted him. They didn't, but that's okay. And then Roquan Smith to the Bears at 8. Probably wish you had that one over to do over. Mike McGlinchey at 9 to the 49ers. Maybe wish you had that one to do over again. Josh Rosen, 10 to the Cardinals. Obviously, they wish they had that pick back. And then number 11 overall, Minkah Fitzpatrick. Number 12 overall, Vita Vea. Those are two of the best at their position.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, Vita Vea, was it his rookie year or second year? He was injured, so we didn't get to see him play. But when that dude's on the field, I mean, just an absolute force to be reckoned with.
Yeah.
And he takes up so much space.
And I think that he really proves the point that you can create pressure and you can disrupt the quarterback without getting a sack. Because he doesn't have a lot of them. But, I mean, he creates a lot of sacks for his teammates. He creates a lot of pressure.
I remember a couple years ago I heard a stat or a thing that was like, this should be a stat. And it was like, fucked up the play type of stat.
Yeah.
That should, he would own that category if they had that.
And, hurries are a big thing now that people track. I mean, also keeping with this draft class, number 17 overall was Derwin James. Probably pretty happy with that one. Number 16 overall, was Tremaine Edmonds, Buffalo linebacker.
That was due to the thanks to the trade with Patrick Mahomes. The Chiefs gave them that draft pick.
Yeah, and that is such a weird trade because it's like a win-win for him.
Oh, both teams won that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it altered their franchises just 1 year after another. It's like bam, bam.
Yeah,
that's what teams dream of.
Trey
when
White
they trade.
was involved in that one too. So I mean, you get, I believe, Trey White and Tremaine Edmonds with those picks that they gave up.
Yeah,
but then you're also able to select Josh Allen, so it worked out. Buffalo does not have any buyer's remorse on that one.
No.
I mean, they might be a Super Bowl team this year.
I mean, that's what I was going to say, especially with the way this year's been going. I mean, Buffalo's looked great. Yeah, the loss to Jacksonville's tough, and the one to Tennessee, it's all right. We'll move past it. But other than that, like this team looks very solid. I mean, we talked about them since the beginning of the year, how this is such a redemption season for them with the way it ended last year in the AFC Championship game. Like, they made it that far. And now this year, it's like, screw that. We're going all the way to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. And I could dive down the rabbit hole of old draft classes all day long. It's so fun to just look back and be like, oh, what happened in this class? And even going back, like we said, 2017, that was an interesting one. That was the Patrick Mahomes class. Myles Garrett, number 1 overall. I think even for the Browns, you're probably still feeling okay with that. I know a lot of teams probably look at Patrick Mahomes and wish they would have grabbed him. But I think for the Browns, you got Baker Mayfield the next year. You have one of the best pass rushers. Obviously, the Chicago Bears selected Mitch Trubisky. That was a big miss for them.
Traded up for him.
I know we used to talk about this all the time on radio, though, and the Bears get so much shit for taking Mitch Trubisky. The 49ers don't get enough shit for taking Solomon Thomas. Like, you want to talk about the Bears, like, oh, you should have taken you should have taken Patrick Mahomes. The 49ers should have stayed at 2 and taken Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
But they didn't. So that was a bad pick. Jacksonville took Leonard Fournette. That was a bad pick. Like, even though he played pretty well for them over time, that was still a bad pick. The Titans selected Corey Davis. That was a bad pick. Like, there are so many teams in there that should have drafted Patrick Mahomes. The Browns are the only one that I will give a break to and be like, okay, if I'm not taking Patrick Mahomes in this class, probably want Myles Garrett.
Yeah.
So I'll give you a little bit of break on that one. But teams 2 through 9 really need to look back and be like, oh, man, we really fucked this thing up.
Like, just massively, too.
Yeah.
Like, taking a safety at 6, like, Jamal Adams, he was good. The team was just awful. Like, they needed a quarterback the entire time.
That was like
Who was their quarterback in
bad
2017?
I don't remember. It was before Garoppolo, right?
For the
49ers?
Jets.
For the Jets? Oh, well, they didn't have Darnold yet, so,
Yeah.
I mean, it was bad. I don't remember who they had.
I don't either. I mean, that just goes to show how bad it was. And you take a fucking safety?
Yeah. Yep. A safety that you didn't even keep.
Yeah, and a name that we haven't even said, Deshaun Watson. We know that as well. But
Yeah, I mean, that one's kind of weird, too. I think that a lot of teams could look back at that, potentially, and say, man, I wish we would have gotten him.
Like, I really want to know what the hell Cincinnati was thinking taking John Ross.
He was fast, man.
Like,
He hit that 40 record.
That was his only thing, though, was speed.
Yeah. Yeah, he had
I
a
bet
good year at
I wonder how
Washington.
pissed off the Raiders were when that pick happened.
Yeah, right. Like, man, I wish we would have grabbed him. That receiver class, I don't know if it was very good.
O.J. Howard was in that class as well.
I'm just scrolling, looking for receivers. There are not very many. Like, Zay Jones won the second round.
Curtis Samuel.
That one's like an okay one.
Cooper Kupp,
There's
third
got to
round.
be. Okay, Juju went late second round. Yeah, Cooper Kupp was definitely a guy. That was a weak receiver class.
Yeah, the Chiefs took freaking Tano Passanio instead of Juju that draft.
Yep. Chris
Fucking
Godwin
idiot.
late in the third round was another guy that you could have got at receiver. Kenny Galladay. No good top end receivers.
Wow.
Which is also crazy to look at, even in our current NFL draft.
It's crazy thinking that Kenny Galladay and Patrick Mahomes were in the same draft class. I thought he was so much older for some reason.
Well, Mahomes came out early. I think Galladay stayed all 4.
Yeah, I mean, he came into the draft 23 years old, but I just thought he was in the league longer than what he has been.
Yeah. Well, Mahomes sneaky been around for a while
Yeah.
now. I think even with Mahomes, it's weird because he sat out that whole year.
That's true.
Where it was like, we're not going to see this guy. There wasn't a lot of attention on him. I know Chiefs fans were like excited about him.
Mm-hmm.
But, like nationally, nobody really cared. It's like, okay, they took a quarterback. Fantastic. They're going to sit him the whole year. Alex Smith is playing very well.
Yep.
So that's all anybody talked about was the kind of reemergence of Alex Smith and not, like we're seeing in Chicago where Andy Dalton was playing like shit. So everybody's talking about Justin Fields. Nobody was really like, man, when's Mahomes going to get on the field?
That's very true.
Alex Smith was bad.
Do you remember the last player taken in this draft, 2017?
No, I will never.
Chad Kelly to the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, I actually do. I wouldn't have been able to tell you it was 2017, but I do remember him being, whatever that title is.
Mr. Irrelevant?
Yeah, Mr. Irrelevant.
Yep.
Yeah, there are a couple guys. There was one in like 2018 that was notable too, and he's still playing. I actually saw him. I don't even remember the team that he's on. It was a linebacker out of Georgia. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, I know who he is. Why was he drafted so late in this process. But, he was, and he's still in the league.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to look it up real quick, but it's irrelevant is what it is. But I was looking at even this draft class a little bit too, and I don't remember which one of the guys. There are like so many main guys. Our guy Matt, Todd McShay, Mel Kiper, Dane Brugler at the Athletic. I was looking at some of their quarterback rankings, and we talk about how there's not a consensus like top quarterback in any of these classes. Their top 5 rankings just go to show it. There's a familiar 4 with these rankings: Matt Corral, Kenny Pickett, Malik Willis, Desmond Ritter, and then you could probably throw in Sam Howell as like those are the top 5 guys.
Mm-hmm.
These, I have 5 of them on a rundown that they have that they're looking at. But even, Matt and Dane Brugler both have Matt Corral as QB1. But one of the guys from the Draft Network and Todd McShay both have Malik Willis QB1. Mel Kiper has Kenny Pickett number 1, and none of them are ranked high. Like I was trying to go through and look at their big boards and find out, like, where do you have these guys ranked?
Yeah, these are just the top quarterbacks, and it's like not in terms of everyone else in the class. That's the crazy part about it. But I do like how it's kind of all over the place too with the quarterbacks. It's not just like a set. Hey, these are the guys that they have that aspect, but the rankings are different. And it's like, yeah, they're also probably not going to go very high in the draft. And if they do, it is going to be kind of surprising. But we'll see teams panic. They're going to get a quarterback. I feel like it happens every year. They take a quarterback, and it's like, why did you take him here? Like Dwayne Haskins is the most recent example to me. Is why did you take that guy where you did?
Mm-hmm.
Like, Jesus. Take it easy. Calm down,
Yeah, again, looking at, back to previous drafts and where guys were drafted, it is kind of like a, why there? And I thought, I have his pulled up, actually. It was the 2019 NFL Draft. Kyler Murray goes first overall. I get it. He's an MVP candidate. I didn't really like him coming out because I questioned his commitment to football a lot. And I did question the size, too, and how that would handle.
Well, that makes a lot of sense because it's like people kind of forget that, he was drafted in the first round of the MLB and had $4 million waiting for him. And he said, nah.
And it seems to be working out. I didn't hate Kyler Murray, but I did question it. I didn't even they took him number 1 overall, and I wasn't like, oh my God, how could you? Because I know this is the Jared Stidham draft where a lot of people will come back at me and like, you had him QB1. It's like, I had him QB2, but cool. But I did. I had him QB2, and he's not panned out at all. But even looking at this one, Nick Bosa goes 2, when healthy, and he's healthier than Saquon usually. Great when he's on the field.
Yep.
Quinnen Williams, man, I remember Quinnen Williams and talking about him as this is the can't miss guy.
Yeah.
He's going to be good. That was wrong. The lie detector came back and they determined that was a lie. Cleveland Ferrell at 4, bust. I liked him so much out of Clemson. That's a bust, though. Devin White, the linebacker for Tampa Bay. A lot of people shit on that pick for taking a linebacker so high. I don't think they do anymore. I think that he has definitely lived up to it. And then, where the quarterbacks get a little bit questionable is right here. Pick number 6, Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess maybe he kind of falls into that Baker Mayfield category for me. Like, man, I just need to see a little bit more. Show me a little bit more.
I wonder how much time he has left in New York to where everyone's just revolted.
And Browns fans are probably hearing that, and they're going to get really pissed off at me. Like, he's a tier below, but it's a similar story with Daniel Jones.
Yeah, everyone looks at Baker and is like, yeah, he's getting the hero talk right now because you guys stunk so much before he was there, and you couldn't find a quarterback. Just because now you have a quarterback who can play and that you can rely on doesn't mean he's just absolutely the best quarterback in the NFL. It's just the only guy you've had be a starter for multiple years in a row.
And it doesn't mean you should pay him.
Exactly. That's the other part. But, Cleveland just doesn't know what it's like to have a consistent quarterback right now. And I don't want to come off and be like, oh, I'm a Chiefs fan, like, da-da-da-da-da. Yeah, we got Patrick Mahomes. Before Alex Smith, they didn't really have one either.
Oh, that
shit. From Trent Green.
Got Trent Green for a little bit. And it was nice.
And then it was like, bam, he gets hurt. Then Damian Heward, Brody Coyle, Tyler Palco, Tyler Thigpen. And it was like, these guys are garbage.
Man, I remember the Tyler Thigpen hype, though.
I do, too. I thought it was so dope. It's because he's left-handed, stocky dude would run the football.
Could run.
Yeah, it was like, this is fun to watch.
Yeah, people absolutely.
And then you really start looking at the stats like, this guy stinks.
Yeah.
So bad. Could not throw a touchdown to save his life.
For a very long time. And He's not in the league anymore.
Oh, no.
That's been a long time.
Yep.
Also, but yeah, I'm starting to get more into the draft content, and I like reading what other people think too, though.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not one of those guys who like shit on what they have. Out of these 5 guys that I looked at, the only person that has my QB1 in their top 5 is Matt. And I might have brainwashed him a little bit. I don't know. But I mean, Carson Strong is still QB1 for me. And, Phil Jerkovich at Boston College, I still really like him. But it does kind of remind me of that Jarrett Stidham year in 2019 where I was like, that quarterback sucks. What's everybody looking at? That quarterback sucks. What's everybody looking at? And that's how I feel when I look at guys like, sorry about it, man, but Matt Corral, Kenny Pickett, I don't see it. I think they're like second, third round quarterbacks, but we don't have any good ones, so they're getting elevated into the first round.
100%. I mean, Kenny Pickett wears 2 gloves.
Yeah, how are you going to do that? Like, his comp is Teddy Bridgewater.
Yeah.
That's it.
Just because of that. Just because of the gloves.
Kenny 2 gloves. And I don't see it with him. Desmond Ridder, I kind of like, but I'm not high in the first round. I mean, he's a guy that
I mean, you've been at
20s.
Cincinnati this long. Like, we would know if you were a top round.
Yeah, if you were a special
talent.
I think he can come in and be good, maybe be like a serviceable starter, like in that Baker Mayfield era type.
Yeah.
But I don't know that he's going to be anything special. But, I mean, out of those couple guys, Malik Willis, I think, is really boom or bust. And he really reminds me of Lamar Jackson, not because they're both black and athletic, but in that sense of, like, he's going to either, like, help change the quarterback position like what Lamar Jackson is doing, or he won't be in the league in 3 years.
Yeah.
And it's that, like, where do you draft that guy? Do you draft him number 2 overall, or do you wait for a very long time and then draft him? Because he's got a lot of good traits. But kind of like what you said with Desmond Ridder, he's also been in college for a really long time. He was at Auburn, couldn't beat out Bo Nix for that job.
Which is tough. That's a tough look.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes, players aren't practice players. Sometimes recruits come in with promises already made to them. So I'm not taking that as like a lot of weight to that, but it is something to look at. And then, dominating at Liberty, that is cool. He didn't play very well against Ole Miss. That was not cool. So, and then Sam Howell. Sam Howell's a guy that I haven't watched a lot this year, but I need to, because I have seen a lot of his stats and I've seen a lot of his highlights. And I got to figure out why this dude keeps having 100-yard rushing games. Like, how does that happen? He's on like 3 times this year. So he's a guy that I do want to go back and definitely check out more. Because
is it from like the read option, or is it all just scrambling?
Exactly. I haven't watched a lot of North Carolina football this year. So I'll have to go back and look at him for sure. But for me, I'm sticking true to the work I did in the spring. Watched a lot of quarterbacks then. Haven't changed my mind at all yet. The only one is like, yeah, see, I told y'all Spencer Rattler sucks balls, but that's about it. He dropped out of my top 5. I still think he's undraftable.
100, especially this year. I mean, he's going to have to go somewhere and just pray to God he's good.
Yeah,
it has an attitude change.
It might be Ole Miss, definitely. Let's get to some of our sponsors, though. Miners and Monroe, our first sponsor that we mention here, love their apparel. We did not get these hoodies or sweatshirts from Miners and Monroe. I feel like I need to stress that today for no particular reason.
You know what? No, we're going to stop right there. We're talking a lot of shit on this sweater. This is a nice sweater.
Yeah,
this
go off, King.
This is an old vintage sweater. It was gifted to me for my birthday, and I like it a lot.
Have you seen the movie Bad Teacher?
I wear this when watching games at home, and when I've worn it...
Is that why the season sucks?
No, you listen here. Because when I wear this hoodie at home, they win.
Okay. It's a
you know that? Remember that
choice.
comeback in the playoffs when they played Houston?
Uh-huh.
I was wearing this. So, keep talking smack. I know it doesn't look like the best hoodie, but it's an old vintage hoodie. It's like the 80s.
It is.
Or not even a hoodie, sweater.
Did you say it was a birthday present?
Yep.
Is that person still in your life?
Man, no, but...
Okay.
It's still a nice one.
That is I went to the store. I know that he likes the Chiefs. Let me just grab the first sweater.
I was shopping for myself at the thrift store and got this for him because I saw it.
Was it from a thrift store?
It definitely looks like it.
Yeah, I've been thinking it all morning. I haven't said it.
Oh, yeah, you're not getting this from a store. You're not getting this from JCPenney's.
It doesn't even have a brand on it.
You're getting this from Red Rack, dog.
It is unbranded. It's not like a champion on the sleeve. There's no Nike emblem on it.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Go to Miners in Monroe. Check them out. MinersInMonroe.com. Use the code MikeUp10. Save yourself 10% off and get yourself out of a just terrible, terrible sweater situation that you might be in.
You know, also, when you're dealing with a lot of haters, you just got to get rid of them. So go to gunspot.com. That's not a threat. That's a promise.
Is it?
No,
I
totally
clip
kidding.
that, record
Very
it.
much appreciate it. Gunspot.com, though, like I said, every day this week, it's not a matter if, it's a matter of when you're going to feel threatened. Be sure you put yourself in a position where you can protect you and your family. Also, gunspot.com is the place to go for all your gun and ammunition needs. They do have a ton of cool guns on the website at all times. No reserved auctions, which is fantastic because you could get a great gun for little to no price, or money, I should say. And then, again, the accessories that you want to add to your gun, need scope, anything like that, they have it right there at gunspot.com.
Definitely check out those fine fellas, too. Let's get into some college football picks, as we do on a Thursday. I didn't watch the MAC play. I know that there's MACtion on Tuesday and Wednesday nights sometimes. And as a college football guy, I should watch it more than I do, but I struggle to get into it. I do. I'm sorry. I apologize if that's the kind of content that you're expecting from us, but you're just not going to get it. Not on a Tuesday or Wednesday. Not when I can watch a good NBA game or college basketball.
Yes, sir, because we're invested into that this year. Did you see how that game ended last night, though?
Which game?
The college football game, MAC Nation.
Yeah, I did want to get into that a little bit. NIU, their kicker, hits like a chip shot game winner. It's like a 38-yarder. From dead center.
Yep.
And he goes off and like takes off running. He runs to the opposing bench, throws his hands in the air like, come celebrate with me. I'm over here, guys.
Yeah.
I don't know if he was just excited and ran to the wrong bench.
Student section.
Or is that what it was?
Yep. So the student section is usually behind the opposing team's bench. You just trash talk them the whole time. Remember Pitt State?
Oh, I remember it.
Yeah, I yelled at a lot of Washburn players.
Did you?
Number 77, you're fucking garbage.
As an adult, how'd that make you feel? I can't even get that.
That's a solid point.
But this NIU kicker.
But there were students all around. I felt like I was a student. I was just got caught up in the moment.
You did.
I'm sorry, but when you put it like that, that's a really bad look.
That's a tough look. But I did see the clip.
Tough to come back from that one.
I wasn't watching that game last night, but good for this kid, I guess. I tweeted it from our mic'd up account. You do this in the NFL, that's no less than 1 million years. Yeah. That's jail time in the NFL.
You're out of the league.
For the taunting stuff. He's doing the ice in my face. He's having the time of his life.
Yeah.
Go to our Twitter if you haven't seen this video. I tweeted it out this morning, though, from Mic'd Up. It's just Mic'd Up, at Mic'd Up, MICDUP. Give us a follow, too. It'd be nice to have a little boost in the follower section. Dude just living his life. Love to see it. Again, this is a kid, a little different than a professional.
Yep.
I'm also kind of surprised that, like, maybe if this weren't a game winner, he probably wouldn't be celebrating that way, but also I wonder what, like, the penalty would be if there were still game time.
I bet he was celebrating that hard because he just won a bet.
Probably. Like hit the over or under, or maybe even the spread on this one. Number 6, Michigan. Ooh. Your Michigan Wolverines.
Yes, sir.
The 1-point favorite at Penn State as of Thursday morning. I'm surprised that there's not a bigger spread on this game. I mean, it is number 6 ranked Michigan on the road at Penn State, but as Lee Corso pointed out early in the season, that whiteout really doesn't matter. It's cool, but when you're 500. It's irrelevant. I'm sorry, Penn State fans. But I'm surprised to see Michigan not more of a favorite in this one. I will take the Wolverines to win on the road.
I feel like it has affected Michigan, though, because I believe the last time they had Patterson at quarterback, and he's just absolutely hot garbage.
Well, they have Jim Harbaugh at coach, so that hurts, too.
It does. But I feel like in the past it's kind of worked against Michigan for whatever reason. But I think this is going to be a good game. I think Michigan gets the W. Tough loss a couple weeks ago against Michigan State, so expect them to bounce back. Once again against Penn State, favored by 1. The over-under in this game is 40.
Penn State's won 2 straight.
Against Michigan? Yeah. Because the last one, I think, was like a fourth down attempt with Patterson at quarterback, and he missed, like an open receiver.
No way.
Overthrew him, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, you could. I don't remember that one.
But the over-under in this game is 48.5. I'm taking the over in this. I think this is a very high-scoring, big game in old Penn State. Yeah. What is it, Beaver Stadium? Did not realize that's what it was called. Wow.
You're running into a little bit of a trap here because I know you haven't checked the weather. 43 degrees and rain.
Oh, you're exactly right. But Michigan just a couple weeks ago at Michigan State, that game was downpouring. Mm-hmm. They threw the ball all over the field, so it didn't matter.
Yeah. I'm going to take the under, and I'm going to take Michigan. But I can already kind of sense in my bones that I'm rooting for Penn State.
Damn it.
I think a lot of people probably will be too because Michigan's ranked above Michigan State. And so many people are pissed off about it that they're like, we want Michigan to lose this game. So that could be what I'm feeling.
But Michigan hasn't been relevant in forever.
Not since.
And so now that they are, everyone's like, screw them. Don't like it. That's fine. Keep hating.
Yeah. Fuck it. I'm going Penn State.
Damn it.
I am. I think that this is the Jim Harbaugh letdown game. I think that you're finally going to play somebody good, and I think Penn State's going to win this one. They're the underdog. The underdog at home. In Happy Valley, of course, like you said, Beaver Stadium. Nobody beats you in Beaver Stadium except for half the time when they lose. But I'll do it. I'm going to take Penn State to beat Michigan this weekend. Next game, very exciting. We speak on teams that haven't had a tough schedule yet. Oklahoma, the college football playoff rankings. They haven't played anyone. There's no good quality wins. Well, this weekend they go to number 13, Baylor. So I do think this is a chance for them to get a big win under their belt. They are a big-time favorite on the road. Well, kind of big in college football. 5.5 points.
Yep.
I'm taking Oklahoma, and I'm taking Oklahoma to cover against Baylor. Everybody likes to shit on Oklahoma and say that they haven't played anyone. Guess what? Baylor has neither. It's a Big 12. There's just not good teams in the Big 12. They barely squeak one by Texas a couple weeks ago even. I think Oklahoma is going to maybe even come into this game with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder because everybody keeps talking shit about how they haven't won any meaningful games and all this noise. So I'm going to take Oklahoma to cover the 5.5 points. I think they win this one easily.
I completely messed up. Baylor lost to TCU last week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, they were riding high, and a lot of people thought that they might be ranked up there in the top 10 of the college football rankings, but then they lose. They also lost to Oklahoma State earlier in the year. So, I mean, they're a 2-loss team, but they are ranked number 13. But I'm not sure how good they are either.
Yeah, and I don't want this to come off as biased, but I'm actually going to take Baylor to cover. I don't know if they necessarily win, but I do think this is one of those games that goes back and forth in Oklahoma with Caleb Williams just finds a way to win it late, but it's not going to be by the 5.5.
Yeah, so you're taking
Baylor to cover, OU to win.
Nice. Okay.
But I don't know. I mean, I still don't know how much that's going to help them in terms of ranking because you have a close game against Baylor.
Yeah, if it's a close game,
if you can't cover that, you're not getting in the playoffs.
If Michigan and Michigan State win, I don't think it matters what Oklahoma does. I think they'll stay at 8. But if we do have one of those teams in front of them get upset, I think Michigan State might actually be off this week.
I think they play Maryland.
No, yeah, they do. So they'll probably beat Maryland.
Michigan
might beat Penn State as well. Let's move along though. Number 1, Georgia, 20-point favorites at Tennessee. Georgia has been so good all year. Obviously, that's why they have the 1 in front of their name. It's the battle of the spread and how well they're going to do. So it's not a matter of if they win.
What was it last week? 38 against Mizzou. And they covered.
I mean, I don't know if, how many points are they going to win by? 46 degrees, partially cloudy, so no rain. Not that it would matter. If it were raining, I think Georgia would score more points, actually. But it's all Georgia against the spread and how you feel about that. They're 6-3 against the spread this year. I think that they're going to cover the 20 points. Tennessee's done a good job of putting up some points recently against some of these teams. Even Ole Miss, they put up 26 points. Alabama, they put up 24. And against Kentucky, who is another good defensive team, they put up 45 points. You're not going to do that against Georgia, though. And the problem is they have a shitty defense. So Georgia's going to be able to score points against this Tennessee defense, and they're not going to be able to score on offense. I'm going to take Georgia to cover the 20-point spread.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. And you mentioned, they put on 20. Tennessee was able to put 24 on Alabama. They still lost 52-24.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, you still lost by 20 points that game, and they did the Ole Miss the week before. Or excuse me, math's hard. I thought that said 16. That is 26. So never mind. But
Your math ain't mathing.
No, it's not. It's just a lot of confusion here. Mm-hmm. But Georgia, I saw a clip, and I don't remember who it was against, but there's defensive players talking on the sideline, and someone had scored, and they're like, man, we let them score. Like, at least we only allowed like 6 or 7 points. They're like, yeah, we're supposed to allow 0 points. Mm-hmm. And it was like, whew. If that's your mentality and the fact that you've been able to accomplish that this year against Arkansas and have just kind of struggled to do it the last couple of weeks. I mean, the highest scoring team was Kentucky, and they scored 13.
Yeah.
That offense still went to put on 30.
And they probably got that, Bo Davis treatment on the bus. You allowed 13 points. Are you kidding me? You allowed 13.
Could you yell at a Georgia defense like that because they're all juniors and seniors?
What do you mean, could you? Yeah, you definitely could. Would they respond to it? Probably, because there's probably week-to-week goals. And I would say that one of them is probably maybe a shutout. That's a pretty
Maybe I should
lofty
rephrase
goal.
my question. You wouldn't even have to. You wouldn't have to worry about yelling.
I mean, if they're
at them.
yelling at each other on the sideline, you know that it's something that they're passionate about.
Yeah,
that they care about those shutouts. That's a thing for defensive players, defensive coaches. They want those shutouts. Or maybe the goal every week is hold your opponent under 10, or something like that. They're doing it most weeks, so I don't think you have to worry about them at all. I think that they're very highly motivated and very, very talented. I know there's a lot of debate even on who is the best player on that defense because there's so many good ones. Mm-hmm. They've got a couple defensive linemen that are very good. Jordan Davis is my favorite. They also have Jalen Carter is a sophomore. He's not even a draft guy yet, but he will be next year. I mean, I haven't done much work for that class yet. He might be like a top 10 prospect.
Damn.
He is so good. He's big too, very athletic. They've got Nakobe Dean at linebacker, who's wonderful. They've got just so much talent there at Georgia. So, yeah, I'll stick with my pick here. I'm taking them to cover the spread. I think that it's going to be a very easy victory. It's almost boring to watch Georgia play. Even watching them play offense, I don't care. Just punt the ball or score. I want to watch the defense. And then you get 3 plays, and then there's another punt. That's what it's like been watching Georgia this year. Next game, maybe a little bit of a trap game.
Spoiler makers at it again.
The spoiler makers, I like that one. Purdue at Ohio State. Ohio State is the 21-point favorite. I really like this Ohio State team. I have all year long. 21 points is a lot, though. However, I do think a lot of people are looking at this Purdue team and maybe overrating them a little bit because they have 2 good wins. They do have 2 good wins versus number 2 Iowa, who has really kind of fallen off since then. And then they just beat Michigan State and beat them pretty handily. I'm still not ready to be like, oh my gosh, Purdue is good. They beat Nebraska 28-23. They got their ass kicked by Wisconsin. They lost to Minnesota. So I think Ohio State wins this game. It's just a matter of do they cover. And I'm going to take Ohio State to win. I will take Purdue to cover, but not close. Now, I still think this is a good, easy win for Ohio State, but probably more in the 10 to 14 point range, not the 21 point range.
That makes sense. I'm looking at it as Ohio State still has a lot to prove. They're in the college football playoff. But they started off rough. They have the loss to Oregon. Hey, let's not even give Purdue a chance at all. They're coming off a big win last week against Michigan State. They're going to look to do it again. We have to take all hope from them away. Foot on the throat. See you later. Send them home. There's not even tracks on the road anymore. Don't know how you're getting back. We've blown it up. It ain't happening. Ohio State wins and covers.
You use the term foot on the throat a lot.
I heard it. Just a lot of it's just going through.
Tell us?
No, whoa, hey, easy, no. Don't be
No judgment.
Don't be nasty.
No judgment. It's just I keep hearing you say it. I don't know.
I'm just gonna be straightforward. How you taking it?
I don't know. Minnesota at Iowa. Let's move on to that game. Iowa, as I just talked about, I'm not sure what to think about this Iowa team. I like their defense a lot. They're a 5.5-point favorite over Minnesota. Minnesota sitting at 6-3 on the season. They were like a surprise team, came into those first college football playoff rankings, were ranked number 20, and then lose to Illinois 14-6, and then fall out of the rankings. But even similarly with Iowa, they were sitting there very good, number 2 ranked team, just come off a great win against Penn State, and then you lose to Purdue 24-7. And then the following week, you lose to Wisconsin 27-7. And then last week, get a narrow win 17-12 over Northwestern. So that was definitely one of those teams who early on in the season, I think a lot of us overrated them and thought, better put them up here. They're undefeated, blah, blah, blah. I think this is going to be a pretty boring game. I'm going to take Iowa, but I'm going to take Minnesota to cover. I think this is a close game, over under at 37. First one to score 20 points might win this ball game. It's going to be a boring one, but that's a Big Ten football for you. So like I said, I'll take Iowa to win, Minnesota to cover.
I think I'm going to have to do the same thing because, Minnesota's only allowing 18 points per game, and Iowa's only scoring 24. But then you look at Minnesota, they're able to score 25, but Iowa's only allowing 15. So I think at some point they're going to be able to the offenses are going to be evenly matched enough where they're just neck and neck the entire game. Mm-hmm. And the defenses, you're both allowing under 20.
They're going to be what?
Neck and neck. Another neck joke.
Uh-oh.
Now you got me concerned.
Huh. Subliminally, you're just like, you're there.
Well, I ain't got a neck, so that's all I talk about a neck as much. I don't know. I don't know how to escape it. I'm nervous because
maybe they will be neck and neck.
Maybe.
I don't know. How about we move on to this one? I just love that.
I don't know what to do with my
hands. Texas A&M at Ole Miss. A nice little SEC battle. Texas A&M comes in as a 2.5-point favorite. They're coming off of a win against Auburn where they won 20-3. Ole Miss coming off of a win over Liberty. That one was supposed to be like a very popular, watch the quarterback ones. And then I think it went on to solidify, at least for me, that the quarterbacks in this class suck. And so Ole Miss comes in, like I said, underdog at home, 2.5 points. I'm going to take Texas A&M. There's so much talent on the field at Texas A&M that if they could get it right at quarterback, I think that they would be okay. But even, what's his nuts, Calzada, he's been decent. Just come in, manage the game, get the ball to Isaiah Spiller, Jalen Weidermeyer, and they should be fine. I'm going to take Texas A&M. I'll take them to cover just because of the low 2.5-point spread. But I don't know that this will be an exciting game. But with these two teams, I say that, I could see it just getting out of hand and it being a shootout where it's 55-52. So I'm going to take Texas A&M. I'll take them to cover, and I'll take the over set at 56.5.
So I'll take the over with you, but I'm actually going to take Ole Miss to win this football game. Their offense can they're just able to dominate. And, Texas A&M defense is kind of keeping people down, but haven't really been playing any high-powered offenses as of late anyway, so it really helps those those averages. And when they played Alabama, they win that game. They're able to kind of keep everything there. But I think Ole Miss is just kind of getting things figured out offensively once again. So, I don't know. I just got that feeling of Ole Miss not necessarily runs away with it, but they get the victory. So,
yeah, it could.
And it's a home game. So
with those two coaches in the SEC, a primetime Saturday night game, it's at 6 o'clock on ESPN, I think it could just get crazy. A lot of back and forth.
This is the game where Lane Kiffin should have been grab your popcorn, get the popcorn ready.
Yeah,
I love it against Alabama, but we kind of knew how that was going to go.
But yeah, we kind of saw what was going to happen there. A couple other games that I did want to mention: North Carolina State ranked number 16 versus number 12 Wake Forest. Man, has the ACC just fallen off. And even with Wake Forest, I started to get a lot of questions about how real they were and if they could make a run for the college football playoff. I guess with just one loss, you're still holding out hope that they could. Even their quarterback, Sam Hartman, has had a really good season. Mm-hmm. They've been a little underlooked. I don't know that I want to say underrated, but they've been overlooked by teams. They're not getting a lot of attention, but that's because the ACC is down. And they were another one of those teams that came in high last week with the college football rankings and then they'd lose to North Carolina. And that's a good North Carolina team. They've been a little bit disappointing as well. And then North Carolina State is a team that I've loved all season long. And then they will just break my hearts and lose to a team like Miami for no good reason. So
by 1, too. Just
exactly.
Such a Nebraska heartbreaker.
Yeah, to a shitty Miami team that's like very beat up. No offense to any Hurricane fans, but they're very beat up. They've got like a quarterback in there who's barely played. But in this game, Wake Forest, they are favored by 2, over under at 66.5. I do think North Carolina State is the better team. Wake Forest just happens to be, have less losses. They were undefeated until last week. They're undefeated in conference play, but I'll take NC State in this one.
Whoa. So you're taking NC State to win as a total.
Mm-hmm.
Over under 66.5. What are your thoughts there?
I'm going to say under, which might sound a little crazy because with Wake Forest, they just went off for 55 points.
They're averaging about 44 points a game, and NC State's averaging about 31.
Mm-hmm. I do look at these, like some of these defenses. The North Carolina one is talented. And then Wake Forest put 45 points up on Duke. They put 70 on Army. So they're scoring a lot of points, but I'm also looking at the defenses that they've scored them against. I will take I'm going to talk myself out. I think I'll take the over. NC State's pretty good defensively, but I think they can hit on the over. I'm not expecting anything crazy like 40 points from each team, but I'll take the over, I guess. We've seen NC State put up points, like you said, against Miami. Mm-hmm. They beat Clemson already. So, sure, you know what? I'll root for the over. I'll put my money there, too.
Changing his mind. I'm actually going to take Wake Forest to win this game. You lose, once again, I'm going to use this term, heartbreaking fashion to North Carolina by 3 points. Hey, come back and get some redemption. You're playing NC State. They're ranked as well. You don't want them getting any more, you don't want them getting anything rolling this close to the end of the season. You need to kind of get back on track and get moving forward as well. So I'm taking Wake Forest to win this ballgame.
And the last one for you, Arkansas Razorbacks, number 25 ranked Arkansas against LSU, who's coming off of a moral win where they didn't lose too badly to Alabama. So a moral victory for them, but Arkansas favored by 2.5 points here. I don't know what to do with them because of LSU, and like they played very well against Florida. They looked okay against Ole Miss. They looked okay against Alabama. But I still I have a hard time betting on Coach O and this team. I really feel like a lot of the players have probably just kind of punted on the season. So I will take Arkansas. I'll take them to cover. Over-unders at 59. I'll take the under in that one, and I'm not changing my mind.
Okay, so you're taking the under and
Arkansas.
And Arkansas. I think I want to take LSU because it's home.
Yeah. And it's at night. It's LSU at night.
I was looking for the time. It is a night game.
Yep, 6:30 kickoff, 60 degrees, beautiful night.
Hold that dick.
What's
taking
that?
LSU. Go Tigers.
Okay. Well, we'll see what happens.
Before we go to a break, though, or to our next sponsors, Texas plays Kansas this weekend. Honest thoughts.
It's a big Texas weekend. Basketball plays Gonzaga.
Yep.
Football plays Kansas. My honest thoughts are if Texas loses to Kansas, it's back to that Giants-Chiefs thing. Like if they lose, I don't even know. I don't know. Do I stop being a fan? Probably not. Like I can say that, and I've had
just going to be a lot more quiet about it. Not going to wear any hoodies on the show.
I mean, I still will. Like I'm even I think I talked about it last week. Like I'm done with Texas football. I don't even care anymore about the season.
They're favored by 30
until children start getting bit by monkeys and coaches start motherfucking the players. Then I'm all in. But oh wait, that happened. I don't know. It's with KU. Texas is a 30-point favorite, and what I will say, I think KU covers. Texas has been playing like shit the last couple of weeks. They've lost 4 straight games, and it's not been good at all for them. So I think that they come away with a win, but I'm not as confident as I should be about Texas and Kansas playing football.
I mean, you haven't won a football game in a month.
Yeah. Yeah, since the beginning of October. October 2nd is the last time they won a football game. And then obviously things are not great with the defensive line coach yelling at players because they're laughing and having a great old time on the bus after getting your ass kicked 30-7.
Yeah.
So I think Texas will win. The talent there is just too much talent differential between them and KU football. But I do think that KU will cover. that now Texas could win by 24 points. But that's where I'm at with Texas football. We're a basketball school now, so we'll see what happens with college basketball. And some of our other great sponsors, let's get to them as well. Club 609, very near and dear to my heart and my belly and my kidney and livers with their 2-for-1. I think I just said livers. I have one.
You did.
It would be cool if I had 2. But I do have 1 liver. 2 kidneys for now.
Oh, this guy.
For now, we'll see what happens with that in the future. But happy hour 2 until 8 here in Joplin, Missouri. 2-for-1 drink specials, $2 draft pours at Club 609.
Yeah, next up, Downtown Lube. Market and the guys pride themselves on getting you in and out on the same business day. They do specialize in tires and lube, but they are much more than that. Visit them at downtownlube.com for their full list of services. Again, that is downtownlube.com. And with Texas playing KU this weekend, please do us, and me especially, a favor. Call Mark at the shop. Go to downtownlube.com. Call the number. Say, I would like to speak to Mr. Mark Getter, please. And then once he hops on the phone, he's going to hop on with a very nice voice, very great customer service old Mark Getter has, and say, hey, Big Country said, fuck Kansas, go Texas.
And that's how to lose a sponsor in one segment. A little bit of breaking news, though, which leads into our last discussion here. The Carolina Panthers have officially agreed to terms with Cam Newton. I put it in the rundown to begin the show. We didn't talk about it because I kind of wanted to wait it out and see. But now it is official. The Panthers bringing back former Heisman Trophy pick, former first overall pick, Cam Newton, going to be the quarterback there. I do wonder, and with Cam Newton, he has said many things before where it doesn't seem like he wants to be a backup quarterback. So I guess that he probably comes in, is caught up to speed, and then will take over as the starter. Probably not a great sign for Sam Darnold. Also, I think a lot of people are getting excited because, like, obviously Cam Newton returning to the Panthers. If you're a Panthers fan, I get it. I don't know that this is like a move for the future, though.
Yeah.
I can't. Maybe I'm weird. And I know that there are a lot of people younger than me that probably watched Cam Newton at Auburn and were like, oh my God, I've never seen anything like this. And then watched him early on in the NFL and thought, I've never seen anything like this, which is true. But I watched him with the Patriots as well, and it was not good. I mean, and let's also remember, he was cut by the Patriots.
Yes.
They're just like, nope. He wasn't traded to another team. He was cut. Now we're in week 10? And now he's finally getting a look. So this is cool for the rest of the year, but I can't imagine that you're like, oh my God, we've got our quarterback in Carolina now. Like, no, you're probably still trying to draft one or figure out how to get Deshaun Watson.
That was going to be my point. You're 4-5 right now. If the season ended today and the draft was here, you'd have a top 15 pick. You'd currently be at 13. Mm-hmm. Why are you still trying to win football games? That's it. Your season's done. The Sam Darnold experiment didn't work. You're not going to sign him for a 5th-year extension, are you? You're not going to sign his option?
I think they already did. There was rumors that they already did, but I can't confirm that right now. But I guess, for the Panthers, I get it, trying to work your way into maybe a wild card spot. But, man, you're still sitting there, and your division is tough. The Falcons have actually played.
They did pick up his 5th-year option, excuse me.
So the Falcons have played better than I thought they would. They're sitting at 500. The Panthers are behind them. The Saints have played well, given their quarterback situation. You're not going to be better than the Buccaneers. So I don't know that you need to punt on this season quite yet, but I also don't know that Cam Newton is going to propel you into the playoffs.
In everything I said about Carolina, I got to eat my words on what I said before the season started. I thought they were going to be really good. I thought they had an opportunity to win this division. I thought they would surprise some people with their defense. I thought the offense would be good with Sam Darnold. Completely expected Christian McCaffrey to play a whole year. Maybe I should just stop expecting now, or any running back in the NFL, because it's probably never going to happen again.
Probably not.
Tired of taking them in the first round. Never want to see a running back draft in the first round
That's
again.
a bold strategy. Of the actual draft or your fantasy draft?
Actual draft.
Okay. You've said that before, and I thought you meant fantasy draft.
No,
if this motherfucker is really going to pass on running backs in the first round of a fantasy draft,
that's tough.
Please stay in our
silly.
league.
Yeah,
please do it.
I've meant actual drafts.
Of the actual draft, I can get on board with that one. And even with the Panthers, I look at this team, and like you said, it's like, okay, are they good? Are they bad? It's hard to tell. I can look at who they've beat in the NFL They beat the Jets week 1. They beat the Saints week 2. All right. They beat the Texans week 3. Okay. And then they beat the Falcons. You beat 3 pretty bad teams. And like the Saints, I don't know that they're like a good team. I don't know that that's a win that you're like, holy shit, we beat the Saints. It might just be like, oh, well, Jameis really wasn't caught up on the offense yet. Or I don't know. He played well in week 1. And then the teams that you've lost to, the Cowboys, I think they're still a good team. But then the Panthers lost to the Eagles. They lost to the Vikings. They lost to the Giants. And they got their ass kicked by the Patriots with a hurt Sam Darnold. But now you play the Cardinals. Yikes.
Is Cam Newton playing this weekend? Probably not.
I can't imagine signing on Thursday and then playing on Sunday. And, another guy that we've been talking a lot about is Odell Beckham. A lot of people waiting to see when he's going to sign. I did see tweets or notifications earlier that it looks like he's going to sign after Sunday. So, why are you disappointed?
Just get your shit together, bro. 2 weeks? You're taking 2 weeks off in the middle of the season?
It's not 2 weeks. It's 1 week.
Well, he got officially released. He didn't play last Sunday.
Yeah.
He's not going to play this Sunday.
Oh, yeah. But, like, part of that's not his deal. Part of that's the Browns.
But, okay, so maybe I should take back the rudeness there.
But, I get it. Because, like you said with Cam Newton, like, he's not going to play this Sunday. So why even have it as, like, a distraction? Or
That's true.
He probably is figuring out his team or knows where he's going to sign, and then we'll get it official on Monday morning. I do still wonder how many teams are interested. I know that I saw a tweet last night that said he was going through 8 different offers on like where he wants to sign, where he wants to go. I was honestly surprised that he had 8 offers.
I was too. I thought there were like 3.
There are 3 teams that he's honing in on, but apparently he has 8 different offers on where he can go. It also, that could just be a lie. Honestly, that could be something that an agent puts out there, because we've seen that this week, that definitely an agent will put out something that's maybe not factual. And they'll say like, oh my God, we're going through 8 different offers. Because what that will do, will get the Chiefs and the Packers to be like, all right, we got to up our offer.
Yeah.
Like that's what you hope for if you're an agent. Or maybe it is true. Maybe you do have 8 teams going after him.
And I feel like I saw something earlier before we hopped on that his mindset is he wants to go to a team where he's gonna, or his team agents and stuff are talking to other teams in kind of like terms of, hey, we want to go somewhere where we're going to get a lot of targets to help bolster our free agent market after the season ends. I was like, if that's your mindset, you're going to have a lot of teams. And I think somebody even commented, and it was like, that's hilarious. Like, there's no way teams don't just hear that and go, oh my God, that's so funny. Like, yeah,
I mean, especially if you're the Chiefs or you're the Packers, which were 2 of the 3 teams, I would view that as a negative. Like, oh, that's what you're trying to do. That's your priority, is to come in and get a lot of targets. Like, both of those teams are trying to get to a Super Bowl.
And the Packers might be like, hey, like, we're not going to force feed you targets. And I don't want this to come off as a Chiefs fan. That's just because I've seen it all over Twitter lately. I've seen it. Like the second receiver for the Chiefs, like McCole Hardman, he's getting closer. Right now, he's on pace for 100 receptions this season. Sammy Watkins, full season, when he's able to play, he had like 90. And so it's like, if you're Odell, you're going to get those targets from this point on through the season when you join, because, hey, you're probably not going to reach 100, but let's say you reach that 60, 70 mark, take advantage of those opportunities, because if McCole Hardman's on pace for that, could you imagine like if Odell was getting those targets? He's not dropping third down passes. He's not stopping in the middle of his route.
This year.
Well, yeah. Let me eat my words there. So
yeah, he's done that a lot this year, actually.
But it's like
New York Giants Odell, he's probably coming down with that catch.
Yeah, it's just it's tough to look at it, to be a fan of the Chiefs and go, okay, Josh Gordon's not living up. Well, I don't even know what expectations were there, but a lot of people.
He's living up to my expectations.
Yeah, and the same here is just like, hey, I'm not going to believe it until I see it, and I haven't seen it yet.
Nope.
So that's the thing. Does Odell come in and change that? There's a lot of hope there, but at the same time, I've said, and I'm going to say it again, I've not wanted this guy on the Chiefs, but if it happens, that's cool. I got the gut feeling it's going to, but I'm definitely noticing right now as I talked.
Yeah, you started
I'm leaning on.
excited.
Yeah, I am.
But you would get excited if they signed someone you never heard of.
I wasn't excited when they signed Melvin Ingram. I was just like, that's a waste of freaking money.
Yeah.
What's this guy going to do? And then that first play, let me say this. Pass rush. Rush the pass. Got to hurry, excuse me. That's what I'm trying to say. Gotta hurry. Welcome to the team, bub.
Yeah,
Love to have you.
I don't know. I think Odell's probably still good, but like I've been saying, I don't think he's.
He'll probably.
I don't think
he's
anything special. I don't think he's like a Pro Bowl caliber receiver anymore.
Yeah, I mean it's tough
on any team.
And granted, he is coming back from an injury, so it's like that's taking a little bit. And the whole Browns offense, that connection with him and Baker is clearly not there. It's being force fed. Just not a good spot for him to be. Time to move on.
Yeah, it's an intriguing storyline to watch because he is such a special talent.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted the Chiefs to draft him when he came out. Actually, I thought that he would maybe get there, and then he was one of those guys who had his draft stock just skyrocket there towards the last 2 weeks of the draft, where I think the Chiefs were picking late teens.
What draft class was that again?
I don't even remember. And a lot of buddies of mine that were Chiefs fans were like, who should we get? And I was like, that kid out of LSU is really good. But he didn't last that long. The Giants took him. But it is, like I said, it's an interesting storyline. I do wonder how much he has left in the tank. I do wonder also what his priorities are. Is it touches? Is it targets? Or is it, hey, I don't really care. I just want to win football games.
Yep.
And I think that could be a big difference.
The 2014 draft, he went – son of a gun, I just had his name.
He went 9 or 10 or 11.
12. There he goes.
I was getting there.
12 to the Giants. The Chiefs took D Ford that year at pick 23.
No. That worked out for him. And another thing that I was looking at this morning were Heisman Trophy. I don't even know how I went down this rabbit hole of just Heisman Trophy guys. I tweeted it out yesterday of if we had to pick an all-time Heisman winner to just represent all time, who would it be? And looking at some of the results that were there, for me, there are two guys that really stand out, and one is Charles Woodson. Mm-hmm. I absolutely loved Charles Woodson. So every time I've ever talked shit on Michigan, just remember Charles Woodson excluded from that conversation. One of my favorite college football players ever, and the only player to ever win the Heisman as a primary defensive player. And then also another one that somehow just continues to get overlooked. I know he didn't have exceptional talent, or he didn't go on to be like a Barry Sanders type in the NFL. But Archie Griffin is still the only player to ever win 2 Heisman trophies. I think that's pretty special. I mean, that is hard to do. Heisman voters do look at it and say, he already won one of them. Mm-hmm. So even when you look at guys like Tebow or Matt Leinart, Johnny Manziel, Jameis Winston, there are so many guys that won it early. Lamar Jackson probably could have won 2.
Yep.
That I do think Heisman voters looked at it and said, nah, not special enough. But with Archie Griffin, way before my time, has won 2. So for me, those are the 2 guys up there. But final decision on that one, for me, it's Charles Woodson. I think that he's one of the greatest Heisman Trophy winners of all time.
Yeah, and in terms of that in college football players that I've watched, it's hard for me not to pick Tim Tebow.
Yeah.
Going through middle school and high school, Tim Tebow was the freaking dude. It was hard to turn on TV and you're not seeing it. Or the speech that he had at the podium, that's now on a plaque at Florida on going into the stadium, where he ends it and he's like, you're never going to see someone work as hard, push a team as hard, not going to lose another game this year. And it was just holy shit. Let's go. Excuse me. Sorry, God. But it was one of those deals where it was man, look at Tebow go. This is incredible. And then just how good he was and winning and watching Florida and the Gators and all that was growing up. Tim Tebow was the dude. And this was, going from Vince Young and then Colt McCoy being there and then seeing Tebow dominate at Florida too. And it was man, if Texas could just figure it out, because that would have been fun to watch. But instead we get, Sam Bradford winning a Heisman. Mm-hmm. That sucked when you have Bradford, Colt McCoy, and Tebow all sitting there. So that was kind of one of those deals where it's maybe Tebow should have won it 2 years in a row as well.
Yeah. Right there, even with some of the guys that didn't win it. Mm-hmm. Some just fantastic performances. I think 2 of our guys up there, Vince Young didn't win it. And I think that even looking back on his college career, he felt like a Heisman winner. Mm-hmm. He should be an honorary, holy shit, you were just up against Reggie Bush. I'm sorry. Still come to the Heisman house.
Yeah.
Because you were still that good. Or when they took Reggie Bush's Heisman away from him there for a while, I don't think that anybody would have had a problem with Vince Young getting it. I don't know that he would have accepted it. That was a whole ordeal. But, I mean, he feels like a Heisman Trophy winner.
100%.
And I don't think that's a Texas bias coming through. I think that is just like he had a magical season.
Well, if they would have waited until after the national championship game, there would have been no doubt that he wins it.
Right, which I do still think that you should probably wait a little bit longer. Now, I hate that, like, baseball, we're still waiting to, like, find out who the MVP and Cy Young and stuff are.
Yeah.
But with college football, I think you could do it, and it would be fine. But that game specifically.
I mean, after the national title game, wait like 4 days, and then be like, boom, here's our winners.
Yeah,
like, it's not that hard to vote on it.
And, like, why are we still mailing out ballots or whatever? Like, just do it online. Like, text this number, American Idol style or whatever.
Seriously, that'd be so easy.
Yeah, or have, like, a watch party or something.
Or send the fucking Excel sheet to where you can only edit one box. Here's your vote. See ya.
Yeah, there's an easier way to do it than what they do. And, a lot of these guys with Heisman votes, they're so old. Anyway, so many of them have, like, a team bias, which it's whatever. If you've won the award, you get a vote. Even, like, in the Christian McCaffrey year, a lot of voters said, like, I couldn't stay up to watch you.
I mean, he was one of those guys that I always heard about, but, I mean, honestly, I never watched him.
I did, and he was very good. It was a pretty special year, but didn't win it. I don't remember what year he was the Heisman. He was up for it. It couldn't have been too long ago, like 2014 or something like that.
I just was looking at it,
but Derrick Henry was the guy that won it over him.
2015.
And even like,
I don't know why I covered my mouth like I'm whispering.
I don't know. They can hear you. You whispered into a microphone. Even with Derrick Henry, it was like he had a really special year. So with Christian McCaffrey, like maybe he should have won it. And I know Paige is probably going to want to kill me if she hears this. But I don't think that Derrick Henry like didn't deserve the Heisman.
Yeah.
It's like with Reggie Bush and Vince Young. Like Reggie Bush definitely deserved it. But then, man, there was a really good second place vote getter too. And that's what, for me, what it was like watching Christian McCaffrey and Derrick Henry. And it was pretty close. Derrick Henry had 378 first place votes, and Christian McCaffrey had 290 first place votes. And a lot of people, even in that year, thought Deshaun Watson should have been the winner.
Yeah.
And I think that was maybe even one of those debates. Maybe it was that year where it was like, hey, if we wait until after the national championship game, he probably wins that Heisman.
Yep.
Or that at least happened to him one time. I'm not sure. I don't remember what year it was.
Well, it happened to him in 2016, too, when Lamar Jackson ended up winning it. But Jackson had an
that was
incredible
just an incredible season. So I think that he definitely would have still won that one. But even, with Lamar Jackson the following season, ran into that whole, you had a really good year. Your team didn't win as many games. But Baker Mayfield, I definitely think, deserved it.
Yeah. I mean, the year before, too, even being in the conversation with Lamar Jackson and Deshaun Watson, it was kind of like, okay, hey, this kid's definitely just been living up to the hype, and he did it once again here at Oklahoma.
Yeah. So, I mean, one of the best to never win it for me is definitely Vince Young. I just watching him play that season was amazing.
Yeah.
So, one of the best to never win it, definitely Vince Young. But I can also remember as a kid, like the year Charles Woodson won it, which was like 1998. I can remember the guys that were sitting up there with him, and it was Peyton Manning, Ryan Leaf, who went on to be the number 2 overall pick, and Randy Moss. And maybe it was because I was a kid. It was like, I have no idea who's going to win this thing. Mm-hmm. Because it felt like Peyton Manning would, kind of based off legacy. It kind of felt like Randy Moss might, because, I mean, he was doing things at receiver we'd never seen before. But he also, he played at a small school. And then there's, Charles Woodson was kind of the third guy, in my opinion. I was like, I don't know if they'll give it to a defensive player. So, I mean, watching Peyton Manning and Randy Moss, those are 2 of the best I've ever seen to not win it.
Yep.
Of course, Vince Young up there, too.
The list for me, of course, Christian McCaffrey's on it and Colt McCoy, like we talked about earlier. But a name that I have on here, and it's probably a surprise to you, Mel, and I don't want to say
big one.
He's not, like, the best, but it was, like, the hype that surrounded him in this area was so intense. It was like, how the fuck does this guy not win it? And that is Colin Klein for Kansas State.
K-State.
I mean,
Colin
this
Klein.
dude, I remember just watching him play, and I was like, this dude is freaking fun to watch. I mean, he was a huge old white dude, run people over, was throwing the football, was leading them to victories. I think at one point he had them as, like, I want to say number 1, but I don't think they ever reached number 1, but they were up there.
They were ranked number 1.
Okay, so yeah.
I don't know if it was.
And, like, that was the
I
thing.
think it was that year.
Yeah, and it was just like, holy shit. Like, this dude is just annihilating teams. Right? And, again, like, him taking the ball and just running people over into the end zone was like, again, in this area, it was like, fucking A, this is incredible. And then you look at Johnny Manziel, and he's just all over the freaking field throwing touchdowns. I think if it wasn't for Mike Evans, he doesn't win a Heisman that year.
Maybe.
I mean, the
Mike
amount of
Evans
plays,
bailed him out on a
oh,
couple.
my God. The amount of times Manziel, would just run like 20 yards either direction and then just launch it. And Evans like, fuck it, I'll come down with this again. Like, I remember one game watching them on a Saturday afternoon, just at home. No one else is there. I'm just watching football. And he had done it like 3 times. And I was like, man, I don't know who this number 13 is. I can't tell if he's white or black right now with the way the lighting was on the TV because he had tattoos everywhere.
Swag.
Yeah. It was just like, this dude is massive. Turns out, freaking Mike Evans. Yeah, pretty damn good.
He was special at Texas A&M. He was. But, I mean, Colin Klein, that is a name that I had forgotten
Yeah,
about.
I did too when I was looking at this list. I was like, man. And, like, even Manti Te'o. Like,
he finished second.
Yeah.
There was a lot of attention for him to get it. And then, obviously,
I wonder if his girlfriend was there.
Stuff. I wonder if she voted for him. Was crazy. I feel so bad for him.
Yeah, and he wasn't an awful linebacker in the NFL.
No, he was solid.
He was it for New Orleans, right? He kind of held his own for a little bit.
I think he ended up with the Bears for a little bit, too.
He might have. I don't remember that transition from leaving New Orleans. I just was